This video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Coming to you from my 50 square foot Japan hotel suite. I got a bidet. I left the baby wipes at home. I'm good. I'm walking around comfortable. Panasonic just released the S9. Let's talk about it. So like I said, I'm in Tokyo now, but I was in Osaka when they announced the S9. I have yet to use a Panasonic camera. Like, it might be the only brand of camera that I have yet to get my hands on up until this point. So the S9 is basically the same camera internally as the S5 II. They removed the viewfinder. They added the ability to bake in LUTs into your footage, and about 70% of the entire presentation was highlighting their app.
Changes how you share. Transfer content to your smartphone seamlessly with ultra-fast Wi-Fi connection.
That would make the whole process of transferring your images and videos from your camera to your phone. My first words at that time, verbatim, Terry Warfield was next to me. I said, I'll believe it when I see it. Because at this point, I've become very cynical when it comes to camera manufacturers and their camera apps. They're not reliable, but I have to say that up until this point, the S9, by far, the best implementation of this whole camera to phone sharing process that I've ever used. First, let's talk about the highlight specs of the camera. You're getting about 90% the same camera as the S5 II. You're getting the same 24 megapixel sensor, which I think makes this camera more versatile than my ZV-E1 for photography. And I've taken a lot of photos with this camera. I'm really surprised at the output that I'm getting on it. I just wish I had an EVF. You're getting the same video specs. So you're able to shoot up to 6.2K open gate in this little body, up to 4K 60 with a crop, same autofocus system, same 1.8 million dot LCD screen, 5-stop IBIS, video monitoring tools. You get the point. Yeah, this sofa here looked a lot bigger in the picture when I made this reservation. I really tried. I thought I was gonna be able to film this video in this hotel room and try to get my YC imaging angles. It's not gonna work out. I'm gonna have to go out. There's no way. I can't do it.
So let's start off with some of the pros of this camera. First one is that LUT feature that Lumix really highlighted. So they have a dedicated LUT button at the back of the camera, and that's gonna give you almost like this Fuji-esque experience where you can, almost like film simulations, where you can bake in LUTs into your video and your photos. And the unique part about how Lumix is integrating this is that with the phone app, you can download, like from their little Lumix gallery, different LUTs for photo and video, but also from other creators out there, like other filmmakers and whatnot. And it's free, which is really cool. And then you could transfer it really fast from your phone to the camera. The unique way that they implemented this was that even if you want to shoot log and you're thinking about the colors later, you can still shoot log on this camera, send that log footage, it'll transfer it over to your phone, and you could apply those LUTs after. And then you could stack the LUTs. And then you could play with the opacities of the LUTs. And that's something that normally I would have to go to Final Cut Pro to do. And you could do that all in the app, which is, again, unique. Now, what makes this work better than, let's say, how Sony's implementing it is if I connect the phone and the camera, and I put my camera in my pocket, let's say I'm taking a video, I want to transfer it over to my phone. The problem is that usually when my phone falls asleep and I got to open up my phone again, I got to reconnect it to the camera. It doesn't hold on to that connection.
With the Lumix app, the moment I pull out and unlock my phone, the video clip is already transferring in the background. I don't have to sit there and reconnect it to get the footage that I just shot. Now, this is always one of the most annoying parts of transferring anything from my camera to my phone. The only issue is that having the Bluetooth on for a while will drain the battery pretty fast. let's talk about the video capabilities. It's impressive that it can shoot the same frame rates as the S5 II, and being able to shoot 6K open gate for vertical content is extremely convenient. The footage is beautiful. All the product B-roll that I'm using in this video was shot on the S9. The colors are beautiful. The vlog is easy to grade and tug and pull, plenty of dynamic range. Having access to things like waveform, vector scope, and even anamorphic D-squeeze is insane for a camera under $1,500. Now, I can totally see why Lumix users are passionate about these cameras. I'm always reading about it in the comment section of my videos. But the one thing I cannot wrap my head around with the S9 are the time restrictions that it has. You can only record 6K 30 for 10 minutes before the recording stops. You get 15 minutes of 4K 24 in full frame and even APS-C mode. Actually, that goes for any other 4K option. The thing is that I was able to record 37 minutes of 6K 30 with the LCD in the closed position. So every time that it stopped, I would start recording again. I guess for me, I'm kind of bummed out that the 4K modes are capped out at 15 minutes. Sure, this camera is aimed at a demographic that are shooting short form content, but for those who want to do a good old sit down talking head video, this can be limiting. Nevertheless, these are some absolute killer video specs that no other camera can touch at this price point. I think the photo capabilities of the S9 make it even more of a versatile hybrid camera. The 24 megapixel sensor, I'm not surprised. The images looked really great and detailed with really nice color. The one thing that really stood out to me was using the LUTs. I mean, it really does give me that Fuji experience where I can shoot the way I want to see the world at that moment, especially for documenting my life or some casual street photography, or you want to document my travels. It's great for that JPEG workflow where I don't have to go in and edit every single image. Not having an EVF is not a deal breaker necessarily, but shooting on a really sunny day, it's really hard to see the proper exposure, especially when using different presets, because they all have different values in terms of contrast and exposure. So it does pose a little bit of a challenge there. One thing that I can tell you, that this camera not having a mechanical shutter, there were shots that I took that were completely ruined, that are not usable because of the banding when using the electronic shutter. Shots that I thought that were pretty cool were no good anymore. So that is something that you have to think about when using this camera for photos.
All right, let's talk about the autofocus. When the S5 II was announced, there were people saying this is the best autofocus. They were claiming that it was better than the A7 IV, and then there were people saying that it wasn't great. It wasn't as reliable as they expected. Now, this is my first time using a camera. I was impressed with the subject detection and how it's able to identify the faces and the bodies, and being able to track people in that sense. I was really impressed with that aspect of it. But on the video side of things, when I'm using touch tracking, I'm tapping the screen. And I know my Sony cameras, I know my Canon cameras, I know that when I press on something that has a lot of contrast, it's gonna stick for the most part. On the Lumix camera, when I would tap on something that I know has contrast, not just something that's black, it would dance around. It'd be doing little salsa dance all over the screen, and I would have to cancel and retry it again. It would do that more often, more than I'm used to. So I would say on the photo side, I didn't have many issues with it. I do think that it's slightly behind the pack. Sony, Canon, Nikon, slightly behind the pack, but it's still really good. Better than I expected. It's just not top tier, if you get what I mean.
Okay, I'm gonna take a quick second to thank the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. Squarespace makes it so easy and seamless to set up a website for your business, whether that's an online store, a blog, or a personal site like mine. Squarespace has this thing called Blueprint AI that gives you unique design and styling options to best align with your brand. A feature that can give your site some personality.
I'm currently tinkering with it right now because I plan on doing an entire redesign pretty soon. It's also been effortless to manage my online store, selling my presets, and even more recently, I've been building out an appointments feature that will allow my viewers and site visitors to schedule a mentorship call with me in just a few quick steps. So if you use the coupon code Manny, you will get 10% off your first purchase with Squarespace. So check them out. Link will be in the description.
Now, for some of the things that I wasn't too fond of with this camera, I think the one that stands out to me the most is the lack of a grip. So I think there's a reason why Panasonic provided us with a small rig extended grip. You know what? They sacrificed ergonomics for size. This camera without this grip is just completely flat. There is nothing to hold onto. It's slippery. And I think that if you have this camera, you definitely want to have a grip. Otherwise, it just slides right out of your hand. I think that sacrifice, you got to put a little bit of grip on this thing, all right? Number two, the lack of controls. There aren't any custom buttons on here. And yeah, you can map the small amount of buttons that are on here, you can map in the menu system, but there aren't enough controls for the amount of features that this camera has and the amount of things that I would want to have quick access to.
Number 3 is the port location. So the USB-C and the micro HDMI port are conveniently located on the grip, so that when I hooked up my Axon monitor to record the electronic viewfinder, I couldn't properly hold the camera in my hand. Now this alone shows exactly the market that this camera is aimed at.
Okay, so I stopped by Disneyland Tokyo to test out the 26mm f8 Pancake lens that Lumix also announced. And I'm gonna be honest, like I always try to look in the good and bad of every piece of gear, but this lens is manual focus. Yes, it's a Pancake lens. It looks like a lens cap on this camera. It's really compact, but it's f8 and it's manual focus. And there's a whole thing going on behind. Oh my God. Oh boy. DJI, your mic is really good because I know you probably can't hear all that. I just don't get it. Even for me, an experienced photographer, I find myself, a lot of my shots are out of focus because I have to rely on the rear screen and the focus peaking, the peaking on the rear screen to try to get my shot in focus with this lens. It's not an easy lens to use at all. And if the user that they're trying to aim this at is a beginner, I can't see this lens being an easy lens to use for a beginner.
To wrap up my first impressions of the Lumix S9, I think that the capabilities of this camera altogether at $1,400 is unmatched in the camera space currently. I may have to rethink my comparison of this camera to the ZV-E1 because the S9 is clearly aimed at users that are trying to level up their social media content, and I do think it is an appealing option for that. Now, at the end of the day, the less time I need to stick my SD card into my computer, the better. Moving forward, I can totally see myself using this camera for Instagram uploads and even as a portable travel camera.
Let's start off with some of the pros. Now, Lumix was, man, and it's a lot to remember. Go ahead, cut it. LUT button, and now you can scroll through your LUTs for, you can use them playing. Okay. The one part about the one thing that really stood out to me. Okay. Wait. I forgot it. And anything that I do with my camera, it's gonna just either transfer over to my phone or no. What did I start off saying?